Hi, it's Alexis, the Avoidant therapist. Today in this video, we will discuss why, when you have an anxious attachment style, you are more prone to self-gaslight yourself. This idea of self-gaslighting is extremely important when you're in the process of figuring out what's right for you. You know, most people watching my videos, they're in the process of working on themselves. But in order to work on yourself, you need to be clear about your own experience, to be clear about who you are. When you are self-gaslighting yourself, you are creating a narrative, a story that is not in line with who you are, that is not in line with your own emotional experience. And that's why, if you are having a hard time right now, watch this video because it will probably help you get unstuck. Because this idea of self-gaslighting will probably create a aha moment where you feel like, okay, that's why it's so hard for me to move forward. That's why it's so hard for me to break away from my pattern. So watch this video. Let me know in the comment section if you find it helpful, and I'll see you after the jingle. Let's start with the triggering event of a breakup. When we break up with someone, automatically, we're going to have a whole range of negative self-talk. It was my fault. I was too much. I was too this. I was too that, and so on and so forth. When someone, the most important person in your life, rejects you, of course, it's gonna activate a region in the brain that actually deal with pain. It's very interesting. It's exactly the same region as physical pain. And so when you feel this region in your brain is activated, it's very hard to let go. And what you're going to do is you want to try to protect yourself. The same way when you have physical pain, the first thing you want is to avoid and reduce the pain. And that's why you default most of the time to self-criticism. And that self-criticism will increase anxiety. Okay, you're going to create a vicious loop of I'm not good enough, of self-fulfilling prophecy. This always happens to me. This fear abandonment wound that is opened again and again. And the problem is when you are in that loop, you're prolonging the healing. You're making it harder on you. You're making it longer than it needs to be. My job as a therapist, I'm not going to cast any magic spell. And if I could, I would, but that doesn't work like this. It's really about how can we reduce this amount of time. And sometimes, and I think the hardest part to understand when that's when you're going through a breakup, it's not so much about the intensity of the work that you're doing. It's about the angle, the methodology. It's not about fighting harder, it's fighting smarter. Not that you're stupid, but you usually don't have the right tools because you're acting out of your fears, out of your insecurities. So my job when I make those videos is to educate you, to help you uncover those blind spots, those automatic responses. Because in a way, when we are heartbroken, we're not in control, right? We have impulses. It's very hard. We create those negative self-talk. The point of watching this video and learning about attachment and all the neuroscience around love and attachment, that helps you to detach and regain control. So that's the first element. And with this idea of control, sometimes we feel self-criticism is a sense of control, right? Focusing on the things that are not working, therefore I can fix them. Therefore I can improve, right? And that's really efficient in the workplace, right? When we do an assessment, a dashboard or whatever, we look at what's amber and red in the dashboard, like what can we fix? Where are we behind in the process, etc., etc. The problem is when you're focusing too much on this, when it comes to yourself, what's going to happen is that you're going to feel bad about yourself. You're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel anxious. If you spend 80% of your time focusing on the negative aspect of yourself, guess what? You're going to have a negative image of yourself, which is not an accurate reflection of who you are. And that's the funny thing is not most people, but when you're going through a breakup and you're really low and you're really depressed, you will view yourself as someone with kind of a low value. But anyone around you, your friends, your family, people who love you, who cares about you, they won't see you this way. All the time that's happening. Maybe your ex will see you in a different way, but people who care about you won't see you this way. And so the point is to find ways to get away from this cycle of blame instead of growth. 80% negative needs to shift to 80% positive, 20% negative. It's important to be realistic and pragmatic and objective of what happened, but most of the time people are stuck in the negative self-talk, and that are actually not helping you to move forward. It's important to understand what went wrong, but obsessing and ruminating on that will actually make the experience worse and prolong the healing. And so this idea of, I call it the auditor's curse, saying that if you're an auditor, your job is to look at mistakes, right? That's, you spend your day, working days, looking at reports, data, and looking at when people got things wrong. The problem is when you are constantly focusing your mindset on this, and then you get back home, it's very hard to switch off. And so I couldn't find where I read it in the book, in a book, but basically you have people sort of coming back from work at home, and they would criticize their spouse because they will be focusing again on the things they're not doing well. It's called the cognitive load theory, and I'll put a link to the study of Sweller. But it's very interesting. Again, the point is, if you're an auditor, if you work in audit, consulting, etc., you can have happy relationships. But it's figuring out that, hold on, what sort of approach am I using? And so what makes you an amazing worker, an outstanding employee, might not actually work in the context of relationships. So you need to be versatile. And the same way, when you have an avoidant attachment style like myself, it gives us an edge in some situations, but also prevents us from developing the right types of relationships in other situations. So it's very important to not to dismiss who you are, because any type of qualities have downsides and any sort of weaknesses will have upsides. The point is to see, like, in which context is it helping me? And in the context of a breakup, in the context of people trying to move forward, trying to heal from a breakup, having this mindset around, like, I need to focus on what's not working, will make things worse. So remember, if you're an auditor, if you're an accountant, it's fine. It's not a big deal. You can be happy in a relationship, but just acknowledge that in this context, that's not working for you. So what do we need to do is to develop self-compassion. So a concept developed by Christine Neff. When you develop self-compassion, you reduce, studies have shown that that's the way you reduce distress. You reduce distress because you lower cortisol. So the fight or flight molecule that is released, the hormone released when you are stressed, and also increase a form of resilience. Resilience is our ability to feel it will be okay. I can overcome this. Sometimes people see a resilience like, I'm strong and nothing can affect me. That's not how it is. Resilience in that context is like, I have the tools, I can suffer, it's fine, but I have the tools, and I'm also optimistic about what's coming up. Okay? The point is, again, look at this 80% of negative self-talk, being kind to yourself. Sometimes, because of the rejection, we default ourselves to, I'm not good enough. Of course I deserved what's happening to me because I don't like myself. I don't trust myself. So the point is to process the pain, not to avoid it. As a therapist, I can't, and there's no formula to make you avoid pain. So dismissive avoidant, they think they avoid pain, but they dismiss the pain, which is not a healthy way to deal with pain or emotions, because you delay things and you prolong things, and then the discomfort and the anxiety is somehow trickier to address because it's in the background. So it's not healthy anyway. So the point is not to avoid it. The point is to process the pain, to have the right structure. And that's what I do with my with our community online. And actually, I'll put a link in the description. But we're going to do something around self-gaslighting. Shortly, have a look in the description of this video if you want to join. We're going to run some challenges like this for free for the community. Again, it's to help you feel you're not alone in this, help you relate with other people, help you access to one-on-ones with me or calls with myself or Elizabeth, who works with me. Again, sometimes it's about how can I change the way I do things, but it's very hard to do it on your own because you feel like, where do I start? It's kind of new to me. When you start doing this work with people who are going through the same experience, with people who have experience helping people going through this, it will 10x the input, which will 10x the output of this. So you're not alone in this, and I will do everything that I can to help as many people as possible. So join the community. It's all free. There will be a mini course, etc. Hopefully you can join when we do the live challenge. I'll explain everything after. How to shift from self-criticism to self-love, which is the key element here. It's about awareness. So notice the negative self-talk and replace those negative self-talk with positive ones. So I'm not lovable with I'm healing, I'm not worthy of love, to, have friends, I have a community, I have a family, and so on and so forth. Treat yourself. This one is really practical and I love it. Some people will treat their best friends way better than themselves in the context of a breakup. So think of how you would support your best friend going through exactly what you're going through, and do it to yourself. And as I said, and I said it throughout this video, assess the ratio of positive to negative self-talk. And I think studies have shown that we usually, by default, focus too much on the negative elements, the negative self-talk than positive self-talk in a normal sort of situation. So in the context of a breakup, it's usually 90%, 95%, 99% of the time. So it's really assessing the ratio here and replacing the negative with the positive ones. Let's talk for a second about your ex. You were not only responsible for this breakup. Relationships are co-created. Breakups are co-created. Yes, potentially, if you're watching this video, your ex took the decision to end the relationship, but either way, he or she is equally responsible. And so what will help you to grow is to learn from this, really focusing on their part in the breakup, because most of the time we're really clear about our part, but it's very important to spend a bit of time thinking about their part. Also understand that if you made mistakes, that doesn't define you. Right? We all make mistakes. Sometimes things that we can't recover. If you have had something special with this person, and this person is also in the mindset of how can we grow? How can I grow? How can I be accountable? How can I improve things? It doesn't really matter whether you made mistakes because you can always repair. So the point and the process is really assessing the ability from your partner to be accountable, because he or she won't give you the relationship you deserve if they don't change, because again, maybe they took the decision to end the relationship and maybe there are things you need to address, but let's assume you fix everything on your part. What about them? What are they doing? They're not perfect, but what are they doing to make it a healthier, more secure relationship? And that's if there's something you need to be obsessed about, it's this. It's not your fault. You need to be obsessed, or the things that you've said or didn't say in the relationship. You need to be obsessed about their role. You need to be obsessed about what have they done. And if you're not clear on those answers, then that's your answer. And it's very important to reflect on this. Now, something you need to also remember, breakups don't mean you're unlovable. Obviously, the rejection element forces you to feel like, oh yeah, I'm not worthy of love. We're not compatible. But it's compatibility and clash of attachment has nothing to do with your value. That's also the thing you need to repair and rebuild is your sense of worth, right? The pain that you're going through is temporary. That I can guarantee that. I can make a bet with you. The pain that you're feeling right now will disappear in 6 months' time if you have the right structure, if you have the right support. That's for sure. That's guaranteed. It's by also replacing this with self-love that you will get that resilience that we talked about. You will never find a healthy relationship if you don't love yourself first. It sounds like really cliche, but I see that every time I help clients. They always find the right relationship when they finally reach the right relationship with themselves. Always, always, always. And yes, you have to shift your mindset of like, I need this relationship back. I need this person back to, no. Start with yourself. The reason you have a hard time is because you somehow broke up with yourself. Because right now, if you're obsessed about your ex, you basically are not trusting yourself, right? You're not listening. You have potentially, and if you don't do this, you will have a hard time having the right set of boundaries, making sure that you attract the right partners, right? Once you do this, it becomes, so it's tricky to find the right person, but it becomes easier to progress the relationship. And you need to shift from what I've lost to what I have. And what I have, the assets that you will build and leverage, is what will create the right relationship. The relationship becomes the cherry on the cake, not the other way around. So that's very important to remember this. And again, that's part of what we do in our community is to find ways to rebuild that self-esteem, that confidence, that self-love. And it's something that we can do together. And again, my obsession is to help as many people as possible doing this, achieving this. So I'm testing things with this community to really provide value and help as many people feeling better, help as many people moving forward as quickly as possible. Because it's just a waste of time to be in that state of depression and anxiety because someone decided to make you feel this way. And, it's not that it keeps me awake at night, but like it bothers me that so many people are struggling because you just don't know where to start. And that's nothing to do with your strength or your IQ or whatever. It's just a question of like having the right methodology. And I've studied that for years and I have helped a lot of people and I want to give back on this. Last word. Healing begins with self-kindness. Again, the same way you would talk to your best friend about their breakup is how you need to talk to yourself. Accepting emotions, so that's what we do in therapy, is like labeling emotions, accepting emotions, discussing emotions, processing those emotions. That self-compassion element. Sometimes we don't want to be developing this because we feel, oh yeah, that's a sign of weakness. No, that's not a sign of weakness. That's what will actually make you stronger. Again, we're back to this element of resilience. Have a look in the description to join the challenge and access the mini course on self-gaslighting. If you have any question, anything else you want to discuss, let me know in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe. That does help me as well, reaching more people and helping more people the way I could help you. Take care of yourself and I'll see you next time. Bye.